Good morning or good afternoon, whatever time zone you're joining me from today. I'm Aidan, the Technical Director for Blustream in Europe. Thank you very much for taking some time out of your day to join me for this webinar session where we're going to be taking a deep dive into our advanced wireless presentation and collaboration products. Your microphone's muted for the duration of the presentation. This is just to stop any background noise from disturbing you or me during the presentation that we're going to give to you. You can ask any questions of me during the presentation using the chat or the Q&A feature on this Teams webinar software. We can answer them live, assuming that we're talking about the same product or the same category, or we'll come to the answers to your questions at the end of the session if we've already moved on slightly, just to stop me from stopping the flow of anyone being in their stride with what I'm talking about at the time. So let's make a start. So wireless presentation systems are used because they make meetings smoother, faster, and more collaborative. It eliminates the clutter and hassle of hardwired cables whilst improving the overall experience for presenters and attendees alike. Some of the reasons that companies and people want to use this type of technology is summarized here on the page. So firstly, we've got ease of use. So anyone can share content instantly from their laptop, their tablet or smartphone without needing to find the right cable or adapter. No more delays at the start of meetings whilst people sit there figuring out what connections to use. Secondly, it supports BYOD, which is bring your own device, and BYOM, bring your own meeting. Teams often uses a mix of devices from Windows, Mac OS, iOS, and Android, where wireless systems like our WMF range allow everyone to connect regardless of the platform. We've got cleaner, more flexible meeting spaces, so fewer cables and wall plates are not needed, meaning a tidier boardroom. Tables and furniture layouts can therefore be more flexible without being restricted by HDMI or USB connections. We've got improved collaboration, so multiple users can share content at once, e.g. split screen or multi-viewing. This makes brainstorming, data comparisons, and discussions more dynamic. We've got faster transitions between presenters. We've got seamless handovering between presenters, just one click or a tap to take over the display. And this is ideal for client meetings, training sessions, or team updates that has multiple speakers. We've got integration with existing AV systems. Now, many wireless presentation systems integrate seamlessly with conferencing tools like Zoom, Teams, or WebEx, for instance, and third-party AV control systems alike, which handle the audio, video, and USB peripheral sharing, like cameras and microphones. We've got reduced technical support needs, which minimizes IT help desk calls for hardwired connectivity issues. And lastly, it creates a professional impression. So presentations can start smoothly without awkward cable fumbling, and this gives clients and guests a sense of a modern and well-equipped environment. In short, wireless presentation systems bring convenience, flexibility, and professionalism to boardroom meetings and presentations, helping teams focus on the discussion rather than the technology. Now, there are several major wireless streaming technologies that are available today, each designed for different use cases, i.e. presentations, media streaming, conferencing, etc. First, we've got Miracast, which is a Wi-Fi direct platform which was developed by the Wi-Fi Alliance. It's traditionally supported by Windows and most Android devices, but also some TVs and projectors. It works as a peer-to-peer connection between the device that's being hosted from and the display, with no requirement for a network to be between. The use case for Miracast is for simple screen mirroring, which is great for ad hoc presentations. There are, however, some limitations to this technology. Latency can be high, which is not ideal for video playback, especially where audio may be routed separately, as lip sync is going to become an issue, or within some professional AV environments. Next up is AirPlay and AirPlay 2, which was developed by our fruity friends at Apple. As you'd guess, this is supported by macOS, iOS, iPadOS, Apple TV, and some other licensed receivers. This technology streams over Wi-Fi, either in a unicast or a multicast environment using Apple's ecosystem. It's great for those that have bought into the Apple ecosystem and supports audio, video, and screen mirroring. The limitations of AirPlay are that this is an Apple-only platform, so only capable of being constructed within products containing the Apple technology. We've then got Google Cast or Chromecast, which was developed by Google. This was is supported by Android, Chrome browsers, Chromecast devices, and Google OS TVs and displays. It works very similar to AirPlay in that the content is cast from the device to a receiver via a shared Wi-Fi network and is good for streaming video, music, or presentations from apps or browser tabs. So what happens when a device doesn't support AirPlay, Miracast, or Chromecast? To be fair, most recent laptops that are in use now in corporate and commercial environments do feature one of these technologies. However, we do still come across the odd old school university lecturer that, given the choice, would still be using an overhead projector. They have since been dragged into the 21st century and given a laptop, but may be relatively old and it doesn't feature any of the wireless connection capabilities that we may need. In some cases, a hardwired HDMI connection would be their default way to share the information that they want to present. But going back to our initial reasoning for the implementation of wireless presentation systems, we have to provide a different way of being able to bring them into the ecosystem to be all-encompassing of every device. And therefore we can use Wi-Fi technology to create a proprietary link from the hardwired AV output on a device to stream that content within the same environment. From the days of our first wireless presentation system, the AMF41W, we took all of the feedback that we were gifted from our partners during the life cycle of this product to create a new range of products that better suit the environments that our customers were installing products within, whilst incorporating advancements in the technology that has been released over this time. This new range of products is what we are here today to explore. So we're going to start with the WMF 51, our wireless presentation hub, which you see in the top left of your screen. This product has been designed with the more basic boardroom and meeting room spaces in mind. A simple way to achieve a wireless connection from a device supporting Miracast, AirPlay or Chromecast, our app, one of our two dongles, which we're going to look at a little later on in a bit more detail, to a display via the single 4K HDMI output on the device. The device can support simultaneous connections from up to 2 Miracast, 2 AirPlay, 2 Chromecast, as well as up to 16 of our dongles at any one time, with up to 4 of any of these wireless connections being distributed via the HDMI output concurrently. More about that shortly. We've got dual RJ45 network ports for hardwired connection to up to 2 different networks or VLANs in a corporate or a home environment, with the ability to have access from separate corporate and guest networks so that internet access can be retained on the host device. The WMF51 can also be used as a standalone presenter using its own hosted 2.4 or 5G Wi-Fi connection. However, this doesn't guarantee any internet access to the host computer when using this as just a localized connection. The unit can even connect to a wireless network from a local access point for content sharing over the network to the 51 without a hardwired connection or network connection, being required. The presentation hub can display a single, dual, triple, or quad multi-view output, allowing for up to 4 wireless sources to be shared simultaneously on the display for effective meetings where multiple sources of information may be required on screen at the same time. This improves the effectiveness of meetings by enabling easy, seamless, and high-quality content sharing from multiple devices. Where an interactive display is being used, a USB touchback can be incorporated into the wireless protocol for mouse movements, slide transitions, freestyle annotation over the presented content, and also a whiteboard function for combining the simplicity of traditional writing with the versatility of digital tools, making collaboration much easier and more dynamic. It allows users to write or draw, save, and share those notes instantly directly into discussions. Ideal for meetings, classrooms, and brainstorming sessions, it supports real-time interaction, all in a single space-saving and eco-friendly solution. Where the annotation or whiteboard is being used in this unit, the notes taken can be saved directly in PDF format for future consideration and implementation by the owner or the user. I'll use this opportunity to point out now that the USB connection on the reverse of this unit is only for connectivity to an interactive panel and doesn't allow for VC equipment such as cameras or microphones to be connected. So, moving back to the multi-view capabilities of the unit. The WMF51 can host up to 4 wireless sources, as we said, at any one point in a multi-view configuration. The screenshot here is from the product's user interface, showing the 11 available default layout configurations. From these options, you can choose which layouts can be selected either from an API command, the user interface itself, or the unit can automatically switch to the selected priority layout based on the number of currently shared devices. Layouts can also be disabled as required. Moving on to the idle or the splash screen image and the OSD of the unit where they're being used alongside an interactive display. This screenshot here is from the output of an interactive display and shows the connectivity screen of the WMF51's HDMI output. This image details how to connect to the unit for each of the various wireless transmission methods. We have this image available to download in various languages on our website and is uploaded directly within the user interface of the hub. You can obviously also replace this background with any custom image up to 1920 by 1080 or Full HD in size to fit the end user's needs with custom instructions. Obviously, the background image is available on any device, any display, interactive or not. A user would not be able to use the pop-out control functions on the right-hand side without an interactive display. Now, the information in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen is not part of the background image. This is an overlay that can be disabled if absolutely required. This overlay details the device ID. Now, this can be customized to a different name or a room description as needed, and will become the SSID of the wireless network of the WMF produces, if not on a separate network. The device ID doubles up as the unit's identifier when choosing where to share the content to when using network transmission formats such as AirPlay. The LAN IP details the 2 IP addresses that the unit is sat on when connected to either of the dual network ports. Where NA is shown, it denotes that one of the hardwired connections is not available. As you can see from this example, the main network connection is not connected as it says NA first, and the second port is connected and has an IP address in the 10.0 range. The pass is the password to join the SSID that's noted above. This, by default, will be an 8-digit numeric password and will change every few minutes, or, as per the example here, can be set as a static password. Finally, the Wi-Fi IP is the IP address of the unit that it sat on if you were to connect to its own Wi-Fi SSID or the device ID. In this case, the pop-out on the right of the screen shows a thumbnail view that any connected device is given to the system. Clicking on an individual thumbnail allows for 3 options, as you can see on the top thumbnail. We've got share or stop sharing on the left-hand side, full screen or multi-view in the middle, and audio mute or unmute on the right. When using an interactive screen, this pop-up can be used for basic sharing control of the connected devices, meaning little to zero interaction is required from a computer or a third-party control system during a presentation. Hiding the pop-up is as easy as clicking this tab, which remains on screen on the far right next to the bezel. It can be moved vertically up or down to the top or the bottom of the screen as required by dragging it to the required position on the right of the display if it is indeed getting in the way of the presentation or the information on screen. Lastly, the bottom menu options at the bottom of this pop-out allows for the user to select the annotation or whiteboard functions. Moving on now to the larger sibling of the unit we've just seen. This on screen is the WMF72, our 4K advanced multi-format wireless presenter. We have built in the baseline feature set of the WMF51 that we just saw into this product as well. So this offers the connectivity from Miracast, AirPlay, Chromecast, the app, and our dongles, which we're still coming on to, dual hardwired networking ports, multi-view capabilities and video scaling, the localized 2.4 and 5G Wi-Fi connectivity, USB connectivity for touchback control from an interactive display or displays, audio breakout, the whiteboard and annotation functionality, and control via IP the interactive display, RS-232 or the auto switching capabilities. Where this product differs is in two main areas. Firstly, you'll see that we've got two hardwired inputs on the front of the unit, being a USB Type-C for both video, data, and power, and a HDMI with a USB 3 Type-B connection so that we combine together the video and high bandwidth data for KVM and VC connections. We've also included dual HDMI outputs on the reverse of the unit, but you will also notice there is a USB 3 hub. So let's take a look at the capabilities of the dual HDMI outputs first that are on this unit. Firstly, the main HDMI output is a full 4K capable output with downscaling capabilities, where the sub output is limited to 1080p. Again, downscaling any 4K content coming into 1080p on this output without any latency compared to the main output. Add in the USB connectivity to the displays, and from interactive panels, both are capable of multi-point touchback to the source device, whether the content is being shared via Miracast, AirPlay, Chromecast, one of our dongles, or from the app. We've also given you multiple ways of using these dual outputs for various scenarios and use cases. So let's take a look at these different options. Firstly, in an update coming in the next couple of weeks, we're going to be giving you extended dual screen sharing capabilities. In this configuration, the main display mirrors the host computer's display, with the sub output acting as a desktop extension. Now, depending on how you arrange these displays in your computer's own UI, your mouse can roam between the displays as required. The onboard scaler of the WMF72 gets the best possible resolution from your host computer or laptop and keeps the sub output in line with the main output to stop any EDID clashes within the video handshake process. For units already deployed in the field, the computer sees the WMF as a single display, and one of your outputs can mirror the desktop or be extended from the desktop with mouse roaming, just like if you were to connect the display to the HDMI output of your laptop without anything between. This type of configuration is perfect for dual displays at the front of a boardroom, where you can have your presentation running alongside your Teams or Zoom call. Next up, the outputs can be mirrored with the same content distributed to both displays simultaneously. This is perfect where you may have displays at either side of a stage, and the presenter is stood behind a lectern in the middle of that stage. We then have to add in the different multi-view capabilities to these outputs. When mirroring the outputs, we can also display outputs from up to 4 connected sources at any one time in any of the multi-view layout combinations that we saw earlier in this webinar. This is just a mirrored output, and we cannot have different sources in different positions or from different sources on the main output versus the sub output. With the displays working independently, however, we can now allow for a 5th source to be shared to either the main or the sub outputs of the WMF72, with the other showing up to 4 sources. One display being used as a multi-viewer with up to 4 sources on, as you can see on the left-hand side here, and the other output displaying the full screen of a 5th independent source. You can also swap or switch sources from one window to another, as required via the API, the GUI, or from the OSD, or even bring in a completely new wireless or wired source to replace one of the currently streamed pieces of content. Doesn't matter which way round you want to work it, the multi-view can be on either of those physical outputs of this hub. This is, however, the maximum number of simultaneous sources that can be displayed from the dual outputs of this WMF72. Let's now take a look at the USB hub on the WMF72 and get you up to speed on how we can add USB peripheral devices into your meeting and presentation projects. The three USB device connections on the rear of the 72 can be used to connect 4K VC camera equipment, microphones, or audio devices to wirelessly link the host computer to these devices when on remote calls using platforms such as Teams or Zoom. Obviously, there are other platforms available out there, of course. Please do note that when sharing these devices wirelessly, they can only be audio or video devices. Now, these devices can also be connected to the hardwired USB connections from the front of the WMF. The USB Type-B port on the front of the unit is paired with the HDMI input directly next to it, and the USB Type-C allows for the USB data connection from the connected peripheral devices, as well as DP alt mode video from the host device itself. If you were to connect a USB or NAS drive to the USB hub on the back of the unit, this data would be available to the two hardwired devices connected on the front of the unit, but not to any host device connected wirelessly. You'll now notice that I've added a second USB camera into the mix. In an update that we're making in the next 2 weeks, the WMF will support connection of up to two 4K cameras, with the ability to switch seamlessly between these at will. The ability to swap on the fly between these cameras is given to you via the API, the dongles, or through the GUI as required. Multiple USB audio devices will also be transferred simultaneously alongside the camera video connection. To get the USB AV data back to the WMF72 to any computer or laptop connected wirelessly, the host will need to be running our app. The USB data does not get transferred natively over Miracast, AirPlay, or Chromecast, nor do our dongles accept the return USB data. I promise we will come on to those dongles shortly. At this time, there is another manufacturer of similar equipment that has a patent that covers the receiving of wireless USB data to their dongles alone. I can promise you, though, we are working on a solution to this that will legally circumnavigate the patent that's in place. And that's all I can tell you at this point, I'm afraid. Now, the app can be downloaded from our website, from the WMF72's user interface, which we'll see shortly, or from one of the two dongles. Again, we're going to come to these. The app is available for Windows, Android, including Chrome, and macOS devices, and it uses the direct Wi-Fi or network connection to give the USB 3 connectivity to the WMF72 and the VC devices connected to it. For a host device that's hardwired to the WMF72, it doesn't need the app to be running because it's directly hardwired for the USB data. The WMF just acts as a hub at this point. It's also worth noting that the Android mobile devices do not allow for USB data to be received. The app can therefore only be used to send a video from the mobile device to the WMF. I'll reconfirm here in case you missed it earlier, as we always get this question. The WMF51 that we saw earlier does not have the ability to have VC equipment connected to it. That USB connection on the back is only for the interactive panel. It's only the WMF72 that has this capability. Right then, let's finally get round to having a look at the dongles. So, as I've alluded to multiple times earlier, there are circumstances where wireless casting from laptops may not be possible, or where the WMF device is not allowed to be sat on a network for security reasons. That we still have the need to be able to share content to a screen from, though. This is where our two 4K dongles come into play. On the left, we've got our 4K USB Type-C dongle for sharing of DP alt mode video from a laptop like a Surface Pro or a tablet like an iPad. The USB-C connection also allows for touchback from an interactive display and uses the power available from the host device to power the dongle. On the right is our 4K HDMI version to take the video from the laptop or computer. Obviously, the USB fly lead is used for the touchback USB data and to power the dongle when it's in use. Now, there are three buttons on the dongle. The larger button in the middle is for sharing the video content from the device to which it is connected to, either being the 51 or the 72 units that we've just been through. The freeze button freezes the last frame received by the dongle from the connected device, and it keeps this on screen. From here, during a presentation, you can navigate away from your presentation to open a different presentation or to grab an image from an email without everyone in the room being able to read your emails whilst you find it. Clicking the button again resumes the live video output from your computer at that point. Now, within the user interface of both the WMF51 and the WMF72, you can choose what function the custom button does. Now, this can be set to one of the following as a permanent function. You can force the display into full screen mode if currently sharing as part of a multi-view layout. You can mute or unmute the audio from the device going to the WMF's HDMI output and audio output connections. You can recall a specific multi-view layout from any of the 11 selectable layouts. You can use the button to display the connectivity info on-screen display for new people to get connected to the WMF hub. Sorry, that's new people that are joining the meeting. When we release the new update for the two camera devices to be connected, this custom button can also be used to swap between the cameras. Obviously, as I said before, this is only on the WMF72. And also, only on the WMF72, you can display content playback over LAN, which opens up a window to view the main or sub HDMI outputs on the connected computer's display itself, so on the actual laptop screen through the app that's running. Lastly, between the freezer and the custom buttons is an LED, which is a visual indication of the dongle's connectivity state. When first connecting to the computer or device that it's connecting to, the LED will flash red whilst it is establishing a connection to the WMF hub that it's paired with. This process usually takes about 3 to 5 seconds. Once it's ready to share content, the LED will turn a solid red. Pressing the share button will turn the LED green to indicate that the content is live and being shared. For the dongles to work with either of the WMF hubs, they need to be paired and running the same firmware level as the hub itself. When using the WMF hub in access point mode, you can have up to 16 dongles paired with any one hub at a time. When in wireless infrastructure or LAN infrastructure modes, you can have up to 50 dongles pairs. That's 50. The pairing process takes about 10 seconds, something like that, when the dongle is running the same firmware level as the hub. And if the firmware needs to be updated, which is carried out during the pairing process automatically, it can take up to 30 seconds. Pairing a dongle to a hub is a case of connecting the USB connection of either dongle to the ports as outlined in the images that you see on your screen now. An on-screen pop-up will appear on the display that the WMF is connected to, and it will show the progress of the pairing as well as a success message once it's completed. So let's now take a quick look over the user interface, and we're going to do this of the WMF72 because it's got far more functions than the 51, but all of the functionality is pretty much exactly the same when it comes to how it's all laid out, just with less features as per what the 51 offers to you in comparison to the 72. So once logged into the unit's admin interface, this is the main control tab that you'll see. Firstly, you'll notice that the user interface takes on a very similar look and style to the majority of Blustream GUIs out there, with the different options for configuration of the unit that are lined up in the menu bar at the top of the screen. As this is the WMF72's user interface, this tab gives you both HDMI outputs and the layout options for multi-view. We'll look over the multi-view option shortly, as this has its own separate menu for the management of the differing multi-view output options and how the WMF72 manages these as they are connected and recalled. On the left-hand side of the user interface, you can see the available inputs that are currently connected to the WMF. In the top right, we have the option to control how both outputs of the WMF are used. That's those two HDMI outputs. In this example, we're using the multi-view with single view logic, although you can change this to mirrored or swap the displays around so that you have single view for the main output and multi-view for the sub. From the user interface, the drop down to select the output configuration of the displays is there in that top right. There is a small info icon next to the setting that labels and explains the logic as required. Just click your mouse on the info icon and a pop-up will appear to explain in further detail. You will notice these info pop-ups or these little info buttons at lots of different places around the user interface, which gives you more information about what the setting actually does. As with any user interface setting on our products, every button click in the interface has a dedicated API command for integration with third-party control platforms. To move sources around the available windows within a multi-view arrangement, you can click, drag and drop the input to the window that you want. Likewise, the same process is used for the entire display when in single view mode, like the second or sub-output is on the right of this screen. Each input has some options also for more granular control, especially when using the WMF's auto switching and layout capabilities to manage where the source is placed on the available displays and multi-view windows on a display. Let's look at the options. So looking at the icons on the left of those inputs, the stop icon of what you see on dongle 2 input is the middle of the three that stops the source from playing content to the WMF. Once stopped, the source will disappear from the display or window that it was assigned to. Above this, on the left for dongle 1, the play button starts sharing the content to the WMF. At the bottom for the MacBook Air source, which is playing via AirPlay, the red circle with the line diagonally intersecting it will stop the source from sharing, but also disconnect AirPlay from the WMF. The middle button allows for the user to move between multi-view and full screen mode. Now, USB-C dongle 1 and MacBook Air are both allowed to be in full screen mode, where dongle 2 can be viewed within a multi-view window only. And lastly, on the right is the audio routing option, where the mute symbol on dongle 2 and the MacBook denotes that the audio is not able to flow from the WMF, and dongle 1 is able to route the audio to the screen and audio output. Lastly, on this tab, we have the auto switching and multi-view layout option toggles in the top left of the red box, and the available layouts for multi-view when multi-view layout toggle is active across the bottom. The Inputs tab next up lets us manage the connected devices and the dongles that are paired with the WMF hub at that point. At the top of the page are the options to enable auto switching and multi-view layouts from the main control tab that we just saw. When logging in as a guest user to the interface, this tab is not necessarily available. So this is where you can remove these options from the main control tab for use when a non-admin user may be logged in. The connected devices are listed underneath this. These are listed in order that the devices are connected to the WMF and are given a subsequent ID. The two hardwired inputs are labelled as USB Type-C or HDMI. Dongles can be renamed as required, and any of the devices connected via Miracast, AirPlay or Chromecast are labelled as the device that Anything that's connected via Miracast, AirPlay or Chromecast, it's a bit of a gobful saying that over and over again, are labelled as the device's own name that you give to it from your settings. So for instance, my MacBook would be Aidan's MacBook as it would appear there. This section will change as devices connect or disconnect to the unit in real time. Streaming can be started or stopped from the operate buttons on the right-hand side of the page if you're controlling from the GUI. At the bottom of the page is a list of the dongles that are paired with the hub, with the ability to remove paired dongles at any point by clicking the bin icon. Now, the Outputs tab allows you to manage those HDMI outputs and the splash screen background image when the unit is sat idle. Scaling options for both HDMI outputs, the audio output, and AirPlay screen quality can all be managed from the middle of this tab. The home screen background image can be uploaded and managed from the bottom of the tab, and it's fair to say that you can have multiple images uploaded and you can change those on the fly as needed. However, uploading an image is just a matter of a few seconds when you click the plus button and import the image that you want. Now, the USB tab allows you to set up and configure the connected USB VC camera equipment connected to the USB hub on the back of the 72. Clicking the UCC device scan button, which is in the top left-hand corner, brings up a live view of the VC camera that's connected to the WMF72, which you can view in the interface. This is a live view of what the WMF app will be receiving from the 72 unit when running. If more than one camera is available, the drop-down box above the camera preview can switch between those two cameras. Underneath the preview are the options for volume settings for any connected microphones or speakers. On the right of the screen are the settings for the USB hosts that are connected and how the USB is routed to these hosts. Settings for USB host priority, host auto switching, and which host is connected are covered here. This can also be controlled from the front panel buttons on the WMF72, as you can see from the image that's just popped up on your screen by pressing any of the three buttons to select the USB source that's being sent that peripheral device data to. Moving on, the multi-view tab, which we've seen already earlier on, allows you to manage the available layout options as well as setting a priority layout when there are either 3 or 4 sources connected. The WMF units have the ability to lay out multiple device streams automatically as they're connected if you so wish. This page allows you to enable and disable whichever multi-view layouts you want and set the most suitable option as required for the end user. Now, this is a bit of a mammoth tab, so we're going to start off by looking at the top of the page first. Now, at the very top, we've given you options for resetting and rebooting the unit from the red buttons, exporting the configuration of the system, and importing to a new unit. This saves a massive amount of time if you're deploying multiple units across rooms within the same or similar settings within a building. All of the rest of the settings on this page can be adjusted where applicable by clicking the update button alongside the header for each section, which I've highlighted, that first update button here in the top right. The general settings includes the name of the unit, firmware versions, date and time settings, standby settings, custom button functions for the dongles, Miracast mice protocol, downloading of the app from the WMF Hub availability, and where to save whiteboard and annotation files to. The serial settings section allows for granular control over the serial port on the back of the unit for comms with third-party control platforms. Come on to the security level section next, which gives you options for Miracast, AirPlay, Chromecast app, and Telnet communication to the unit. Also, the encryption of wireless data to and from the unit. Any can be disabled or enabled as required. Moving down the page, the advanced settings section has options for scheduled reboots and network data over the USB connections. The device name and domain name can also be amended within the device section. And then we come on to the network options of the WMF unit. Now, as we touched upon earlier, both of the Blustream WMF hubs have 3 different network communication options. There's wireless and 2 hardwired LAN ports. All relevant settings for these available connections can be configured as per the way in which the end user is going to be needing to communicate through either of the WMF hubs. Updating the wireless network settings gives the option for 3 modes of communication via the functionality of the unit. Access point mode. This is used where there is a hardwired network connection to the corporate network. The WMF also hosts its own wireless network or Wi-Fi network that's not associated with the corporate LAN for direct dongle communication, which isn't available for users to connect directly to from their devices. Wireless infrastructure mode. This is where the WMF72 is connected to the corporate wireless network only. Paired dongles communicate through that Wi-Fi network to the hub itself. And then LAN infrastructure mode, which is for hardwired connection to the WMF hub with no Wi-Fi connectivity to the hub whatsoever. So Wi-Fi is therefore disabled. Now, there is a clear definition of each of these modes with accompanying schematic style diagrams inside the user guide of the Blustream WMF products for each of these options, as well as outlining the options for LAN bridging when using both hardwired LAN connections in unison. The update firmware, update password, and information tabs are all consistent across Blustream products, so we're not going to delve into any of the information and processes available on these tabs to keep the information here relevant and not teaching any of you to suck eggs that know our Blustream units. Now, the app tab is available to any guest user as well as the admin. This page can be used to download the relevant app for the operating system or device type as required. These apps are all available to download also from our USB Type-C or HDMI dongles. When connected to the host device, the dongles will appear as a USB drive for the relevant app to be downloaded directly from the dongle. This is great for guest users of the system that don't use this system as a permanent method for daily use. The apps are also available for download from our website inside the download section of the WMF 72 and WMF 51 product pages online. The app can be used to stream video and audio from a device that doesn't feature Miracast AirPlay Chromecast connectivity as standard, or where a dongle is being used, or indeed a hardwired connection to the front of the WMF72 or the wider system. The app can also be used exclusively for getting the wireless USB link back from any VC connected equipment to the USB 3 hub on the back of the 72. And you can see the app running here in the bottom right hand corner of the screenshot with the WMF72 that I'm connected to. To find out more information about any current Blustream distribution products, please do visit our website. Each technology has its own relevant categories inside the product menu at the top of our homepage. You can download our 2025 solutions brochure from the homepage of the Blustream website, or you can email the tech team in your territory direct. Alternatively, do speak to your Blustream authorized distribution partner, who I am sure is going to be able to offer you guidance and point you in the right direction for the job at hand. Now, for any of the products or firmwares that we've mentioned that are coming soon, do follow us on social media channels for up-to-date information on these product releases. Once again, we're going to be exhibiting at Integrated Systems Europe in Barcelona from the 3rd to the 6th of February next year. We'll be located in Hall 2, stand F550. We'll have the new wireless devices seen here today available for hands-on live demos on our booth, as well as some great new product developments that we've been working on in the background. Do use the invite code here for free access to the show, and make sure you book an appointment with your distributor to have a good look through the solutions that we've got available. And that brings us to the end of today's session. If you want to reach out to me personally, my email address is on your screen now, and it will remain on screen after we finish in a minute. So let's just quickly have a look through the chat and the Q&A side of things to see if there's any questions come in. So we've had a question from Rob. Hi, good morning, Rob. Rob's asked, where are the PDFs from the annotation stored? So you've got two options for this, Rob. Both of the units have that USB connection for the pairing of dongles. You can attach a drive directly to those, and they can download straight to the drive in PDF format. Or those units have their own onboard memory where you can save it to and then download through the user interface or from one of the dongles at a later point. Jura, hi Jura, hope you're well. Can the pop-out button be completely removed if we don't need its function? Yes, you can. There is an API command for the removal of that small blue tab. But obviously, if, as I said earlier, if you're using it with an interactive screen, you're going to want it there, but you can just click and drag it up and down to keep it out of the way of any content on screen as required. Will come through. And we've had one more question that's come in from David. Hi, David. David said, AirPlay is my biggest bugbear. Can an AirPlay device connect wirelessly directly to the Blustream Wi-Fi device, but still be connected to the internet via the, sorry, I need to click the more button, via the company Wi-Fi, similar to the dual connection that Miracast uses? Oh, let me just read that one again. So, yes, it can, David, but you would need to have Wi-Fi available on the WMF to have that there. So the AirPlay can connect directly to essentially what is the three antenna on the back of the unit, whilst the system itself, the computer, the MacBook or the iPad or whatever iOS or macOS device that you're using is connected to the outside world via the Wi-Fi connection. Even though AirPlay does use a Wi-Fi connection, it will still see it there as an available device to be able to share to. I do feel your pain with regards to, and it's not just AirPlay, to be fair. Chromecast is a bit of a PITA. I won't tell you what that acronym means. Not certainly whilst we're recording this. But yeah, it can be a bit of a pain. But we've given you multiple different ways of being able to connect the WMF 51 and 72 units, both to wireless devices that are communicating with it, the dongles, the app, but also where there's hardwired connections going in and out. But the LAN bridging modes give the ability to be able to have those connections bridged together to allow for seamless communication. I hope that answers all of the questions. That's certainly all that's come through. There is one other thing from Duncan. We are recording this session. If you want to get a copy of the recording, we don't post them online, but feel free to email me. Email address is, as I said, on the screen now, and I can send the recording off to you a little bit later today. So if there aren't any more questions, thank you very much for your time again today, your interest in Bluestream and these particular products, and I very much hope that we get to see you soon in person. Thanks a lot, guys. Take care. We'll see you soon. Bye bye. Have a good day.